Do you think Bitcoin has topped at 112K? What happens if this is the start of the bear market? So is Bitcoin going below 100K or not? So I still think the bloat off top scenario is happening. It's just a question of where will the pullback stop? I'm going to show you the evidence of what I think. Trump making this tweet, once again, he shocked the markets with this tweet basically saying that China is not compliant with the tariffs pause deal we negotiated in Geneva, which is 3 weeks ago. When remember how everybody from China to Trump to US, everybody took their tariffs down like 120%. They went back to like 10, 30% tariffs, basic tariffs. And the market was happy, and that's why we had this gap up here. This gap up was because that China deal was successfully negotiated, and they have a 90-day pause, but now Trump's walking back that deal right now. That's what's happening. Trump is basically saying the Chinese not playing along, so why should I play along? So market got nervous, and what happened was this. Market got nervous, and basically market sold off yesterday. The SP 500. I'm trying to use the SP 500 to gauge the strength of Bitcoin, right? Because they're all reacting to the same piece of news, and this is the biggest news in the world right now if US and China go into another trade war. And then by the close of the market, right, last 2 hours before the close, market bounced back, right? So that's very important. Folks know that for the last few days, I've been saying, I think we get a pullback like this to form a bull flag on the SP 500, and we close the gap here. The big support is around this 565, 568 level. So we could meander down here and then break up. It's important to talk about this because Bitcoin copies this action quite a lot. If we look at the intraday Bitcoin did bounce up, but still we can see it's kind of still far off from where the top was, and then closed nowhere near the top. In fact, closed near the bottom, and now closed down. Right, let me answer two questions right now. One, will we get a big 10% crash? Like, you know how one of those days where Bitcoin just goes boom like this? 10% crash, it's at 103K right now. A 10% crash would take Bitcoin to like 93K. Like if went like this, 93K is about there. If it went boom like this and alts crash with like 25, 30% crash, like in one day, like in fact, in like 3 or 4 hours, boom, one of those cascading crashes they have in Bitcoin all the time. I don't think it can happen right now. Once again, I stress it is because if that happens, most people are going short, most people are agreeing here, right? Then these shorts would make so much if these coins went down 25, 30%, the old coins. Some exchanges would go bankrupt if they had to pay out that much money on a drop like that. So I see a slow sort of bottoming process here. Chances are we still close above 100K. In what scenario does Bitcoin dip into the 90s? You have this important 0.618 Fibonacci retrace at this 97.5K area. It's reasonable for Bitcoin to, after such a big run up with very small pullbacks, to make a pullback to 97.5K area, which is where this 0.618 Fibonacci retrace is. What would make Bitcoin do that? Now, as I keep on saying, if we have a crazy tweet from Trump, the ETFs are going to sell. The people who buy the ETFs are Wall Street investors. If they think SP 500 is going down, if they think NASDAQ is going down, then basically they would sell Bitcoin, their Bitcoin holdings in IBIT, which is the BlackRock Bitcoin Fund. So in that case, Bitcoin would go down here. I don't think that's quite the bottom for the NASDAQ. I think that's a very good sign, but I don't think that's the bottom for the SP 500 or for the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's here, even better looking wick candle. I think we could at least test 18.5, if not 18.0, 17.9 on the NASDAQ. Again, a sort of bull flag here before we go up and break new all-time highs. So I still think the bloat off top scenario is happening. It's just a question of where will the pullback stop? Will the pullback stop at 100K and above, like I've always been saying, or we'll get to something like 97, 96K. Yesterday's Trump's threat in his tweet was directed at China, saying China is not playing by the rules, so maybe Trump wants to do something with the tariffs again. And even this Chinese ETF traded on the NASDAQ still had a small wick down or a bounce as well. This is not a good looking candle, but even they pushed up a little. So it means the market, even China, is not feeling entirely scared of what's happening with Trump right now. If the stock market isn't that worried, then Bitcoin shouldn't be that worried either, because that means the spot buyers from BlackRock ETF should not be dumping a lot, because they're not that worried, because we just saw Wall Street, SP 500 ETF, NASDAQ ETF, even the Chinese ETF are not dumping in a panic just yet. We could get a tweet. We could get a tweet on Sunday evening from Trump. Once again, this is a trick like that he likes to do, where he tweets bad news on a Friday, then he gets his family or insiders, to buy some puts, and the market drops, and then he sells those puts, and then tweets some good news, or tweets, there's no problem with China, we'll renegotiate when 90 days is up, on a Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon US time, and the markets bounce, the futures bounce, and the markets reopen up on the Monday morning in the US, or even in the Asian time zone. So he's done this a number of times. So right now, we just have to wait for the Sunday evening US time to see if Trump tweets again or not, or is he serious? Is this another ploy to just let his family, insiders, to buy some puts and then make some quick profits on the weekend? Or is he serious? Is he real about this threat on China? That's what will determine if Bitcoin can stop at 100K or not. In general, I still think the blow off top is going to happen. I still think the blow off top has a very large, over 60% chance of happening. It's just a matter of figuring out how deep this pullback is going to be. I always thought the pullback would be above 100K, but because Trump made this crazy tweet, so we probably can't be I'm not as sure as before we stop at 100K because of this crazy tweet from Trump. I always said, look, guys, unless we get a crazy tweet from Trump, then I think we're going to stop before we get below 100K, because it hasn't even been 90 days yet, and he's trying to start a fight again with China. But if he is serious about China, then I think you're going to see the reactions in the stock market come Monday, come Tuesday. If stocks go down, then Bitcoin goes down with it. So the situation is more complicated now. I just want to say this again, even though I've been repeating this, because people get confused and they go, "Oh, you said up or down, up or down." No, I'll say it again. I think it's a blow off top. We're still inside a blow off top. That means a new all-time high for the stock market and for Bitcoin, right? At least above 120K would be the minimum qualification for a blow off top for me. And now we're inside a pullback. If Trump's tweet is not a real threat, if it's just for his family to make some quick bucks, insider trading, then he would then it will be a small pullback at above. We stop before we get to 100K, and then Bitcoin goes up again. It might go sideways around here between 100 and 112K. But if Trump is serious and he really wants to pick a fight, another trade war with China right now, then the stock market will lead and go down in a bigger pullback, and in which case Bitcoin can pull back more, possibly around 96, 97K for now, but I'll update you guys when I have more info. Okay, stay tuned, guys. I'll catch you guys for the next episode.